Hi, everyone, and welcome to Book Club with Bay. I am Bay, and this is Bay. Say hi, Bay.
Hi, Bay.
And today we are talking about the last book in the Shifters series, Alpha by Rachel Vincent, or Rachel Vincent, depending on how you're feeling. The Rachel Vincent, but not the only one, as we discovered, because there's also an Honor Vincent if you want to get fucking crazy. But
Oh,
she's
God. I forgot about that. That's bookmarked on my computer.
so the Rachel Vincent, the name stealer. Um, so this is the last book, and like it's funny because we have a lot to say about this that's not good, but
Yes.
also it's still in good book week mostly because we started it without Addie. Honestly, I
Yeah,
feel like, and
and there's a lot of there's a lot to complain about in this series, but there's also a lot to like.
yeah,
Like it's well written. The plot itself in general is good. It makes sense. I will tell you though, freaking okay. So we have also because we've been talking about how we need to vet our bad books better, and I started listening to Soul Screamers by Rachel Vincent just to vet it, and I think it makes sense for it to go
okay,
in bad book week. I think
yeah,
it will be an enjoyable bad book week book or
yeah,
series. And a little bit of a spoiler, not really, but like I guess method spoiler. A lot of the plot development purely comes from the protagonist going, "Aha! I'm going to pull this assumption out of my ass and hope it sticks," and it sticks.
great.
Like with this, Faith makes an assumption, and the reader and the characters, you can see why we all go, yeah, no, that's a fair assumption.
Yeah,
Like with the Thunderbirds, it was like, oh, it must have been Calvin Malone because it makes sense, and it was like, oh yeah, no, it was Calvin Malone because it makes sense.
yeah,
Soul Screamers is, this is my assumption because this is the only assumption I could ever make. And they're like, everyone else is like, but that, I don't know how we get to that. But yeah, let's roll with it. Let's roll with it. And then they
okay,
roll with it and it's correct.
great. Um, but like with everything, with every book club, we'll start with ratings.
Oof. Oof.
I'm gonna call this one a really overdone steak.
So a medium steak.
Yeah, yeah, medium, because it's not
I'm
it's not bad, but there's a lot.
like you ask for a steak, you got a steak, and you're like, well, at least I got a steak, but my God, am I disappointed at the same time.
Thank you. Because it's not bad, but it's not good. And well,
This
okay, it's there are the good bits, and then there are like the bad bits. And I'm also gonna say this: there are just things that you're kind of fucking done with, and that being the love triangle.
yes.
So, in a lot of books, especially like a series that's this long, the love
Yeah.
triangle is usually resolved much earlier,
Yeah, I guess the love triangle though didn't truly pop up until 2 books ago though.
but it did.
It was teased for like the first 3 books, and then the fourth book it was created, and the fifth book the other point of the triangle discovered the triangle.
Well, yeah, and I guess the other thing is that because there's been so much drama with Mark
Oh
in the
God.
first couple books,
Yeah, like it was like
it
we're breaking up,
feels
we're back together. We're breaking up, we're back together.
yeah, it feels like we've just been dealing with so much romantic horse shit this entire series. And usually, if you have a series, if it's like a 3 book series, then like, yeah, you might not resolve the romantic plot until book 3. But with a 6 book series, to keep it going the entire 6 books, by the end of book 6, you don't buy fucking anything.
Yeah, and
I don't buy that Faith loves either one of these motherfuckers.
I
I
definitely
only
don't buy that she
buy
loves Jace. I
I
definitely don't buy that.
I only buy that she's there for the attention.
Yeah, well, there's and then like, well, for example, right, like she keeps getting told by like them. Then when she tells her dad, and then when she finally tells her mum, she tells her mum, and everyone's just like, you have to choose. And her first thought when her mum says you have to choose, her first thought is, why does everybody keep saying that? Because Faith, everyone else isn't a dick. Well, Mark's a dick, but not in this context. He's not a dick in this context.
No,
He's like, I feel like he is literally the only person in this love triangle that is sane.
Yeah.
In terms of his thoughts towards the love triangle.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, and it's exhausting. Also because of the fact that they have so much ground to cover because it wasn't covered in the previous books.
A lot happens this book.
Well, and the love triangle I feel like takes over the book.
Yeah.
In a big way.
Maybe that's why it feels like a lot.
There is so much standing around and talking about the love triangle. And so much of Faith being like, oh, but why?
Why do I have to choose? Why do I have to love the... Oh, shut up.
And I'll even say this, too. The final battle is so underwhelming.
I know. Honestly, I went into it thinking that... Sorry, check. It's raining, so I had to come inside for today's book club. I'm allowed back in the house. It's okay. At some point, I will get the study sorted, and I will have a permanent location that isn't my back veranda. But for now, yeah, no, the final battle. Well, especially, spoiler alert: Calvin Malone is going to get killed. Who didn't see that coming?
Me.
Literally no one. I think it's satisfying that. Do you want to give the spoiler disclaimer?
Oh yes. Spoilers ahead. This is Book Club with Bay, not spoiler-free book review with Bay. So if you care about spoilers
of a decade-old series,
then don't watch.
Yeah,
whatever.
So I think it's right that Jace got to kill him.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it kind of just happened like you're kind of expecting like a Harry Potter versus Voldemort like final show off with Calvin.
Yeah, just with everything because we've 6 books of build up to like horse shit, and then it's kind of just like
it's just like, oh, Jace stabbed. I thought Jace was punching him, but no, he stabbed him.
Yeah, like we didn't even get to see it.
Yeah, it was kind of like, and I guess to an extent, I guess it was as much as freaking shape-shifting werecats and thunderbirds and bruins and shit all fighting each other, like, is realistic, you know? If we suspend reality for that. Yes, I feel like it probably was written quite, quote-unquote, realistically in the sense of, yeah, there probably wouldn't have been that big, like, you know, everyone standing in a circle watching these two circle each other, shouting jabs, and then bam.
Yeah.
But... And because it's from a first-person perspective, like, yeah, Faith only sees what Faith sees.
But Faith couldn't have been watching.
I feel like Faith could have been paying a bit more attention for a couple minutes.
Like, yeah, because if you're gonna, like I said, it's just so underwhelming. And because it was shoved at, like, the big battle that this was all leading up to. I mean, this was supposed to be the big battle book. And it all moved out of the way because it was like, well, we have love triangle to work out. And it's like, well, it's like you took the interesting thing and made it well done.
I feel like the final battle could have been an extra chapter.
Yeah. Because, like I said, the plot got sidelined.
Yeah, because
for not plot.
Also, just to bring us back to Harry Potter again, just for a moment, literally half, well, maybe not half, but like probably about a third of the book is the final battle.
If you're going to have a whole series leading up to a battle, because I'm thinking about, okay, I'm going to go ahead and spoil part of the Wheel of Oshheim.
Go for it.
Because it's not really a spoiler. because I'm not going to tell you like what happens. But in the Wheel of Oshheim, at the beginning of that book, there is a battle, and it takes up probably, I would estimate, maybe 70,000 words, because it's a whole siege of a castle.
Yeah.
A lot happens, but it's a
Yeah.
whole siege, and things have been leading up to this battle throughout the long ass first and second book. And so you're like, I want to see this fucking battle. We've been talking about it for 2 whole books, and these are long ass books. Can I see the goddamn battle? And then, like, it would be so disappointing if it was like, and then one line of like, oh, I guess the castle got sieged, and you'd be like, what the fuck? Because then also, if you read the Broken Empire trilogy too, you're like, the Dead King's army sieged the castle, and it was a lie? What the fuck? That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Obviously taking into context that also these are urban fantasy werecat shifter books and shit. Yeah, when we don't want half the book to be the final battle.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, but like, give me a chapter.
And one, like, another, I think, I feel like maybe from when they get there to when, like, it's like the last maybe, I think the fight itself lasts maybe about 2 chapters.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a lot, but they're not long ass fucking chapters, like, you know. And I think we needed at least 1 more chapter. Maybe 2.
I agree. Or just like lengthen the chapters we got.
Yeah. Or, like, okay, not or, sorry, this is a related but separate point. The death count as well at the end was like 15 or something.
Which is not enough.
I mean, like, yeah, granted their population's pretty freaking small. Oh, you know how we were talking last Shifters book about how it does, like, you know, there's not enough people and stuff like that. It just occurred to me. So like the geneticist Eames, whose brother died in the last book, and Dr. Carver and that, there are no alphas named Eames or Carver. So where the fuck are they from?
I don't know.
I feel like perhaps there might have been like more families, and then like, I don't know, for whatever reason those families died out and those territories were absorbed by other ones, perhaps.
There aren't enough tabbies to account for the number of people we have.
There are not enough tabbies to account for the number of people we have, and there are not enough people to account for the territories and half the plot lines when you think about it logistically. Even
though this is a urban fantasy series, because we got a big final battle as if it was like a high fantasy series, I'm going to go ahead and give writing advice from Book Club with Bae. If you're going to have an epic final battle, some motherfuckers need to fucking die.
Yep. Like Faith's pride literally loses 3 people.
I mean, look, what you need to do is do some research, and you're going to need to look up, I mean, and this is just if you're going to be a person and I have strong opinions about this, do some research, look up a bunch of famous battles that were, that involved a lot of infantry and a lot of hand-to-hand combat, because that's usually how things go in books like this. Or if you're dealing with a much bigger situation where you have like siege weapons and stuff like that, look up those types of battles, look up a bunch of them, look up the death count on both sides, and take that into account. Take into account how many people should be dead, and that's how many people should be dead. Kill some motherfuckers. And then also, if you're going to do that in your final book, you need to be thinking about who's going to die. You need to develop those characters so that we give a shit.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Another thing as well is like also taking into account the healing rates. Now, werecats do have accelerated healing rates in general, like as a rule, but it seems like the acceleration only happens when they shift.
Yeah, and they're not vampires from Vampire Diaries. Like, they don't just insta heal.
Like the werewolves in Mercy Thompson and everything, they have accelerated healing in whatever form they're in. Like Adam could get a gash down his arm, and within 2 hours, it would be like it would look like you got gashed a week ago.
Right. But it's not like what you
But
think of when vampires get slashed, where it just like.
yeah, like so if they healed though, like the werewolves in Mercy, I would be a bit more forgiving of the low death rate.
Yeah.
But again, their accelerated healing comes from them shifting, not. If it happens in general as well, but then the shift accelerates it hell of a lot more. That I feel like that's what it was supposed to be, but all of the examples within the book, the accelerated healing has come from shifting.
Yeah.
No one's shifted mid-battle, so, and we're talking about things that are fighting with claws and freaking giant teeth. So yeah, there's a lot of freaking fatal.
So
wounds
no
happening.
one got like
Lots of blood loss happening.
Nobody got fatally wounded. You're telling me?
Yeah, I do. Well, actually, we'll wait till it gets to that bit. But yeah, so the death rate of the final battle, I feel, should have been higher, especially considering I can see why the bad guys had a relatively low death count, because they were trying to avoid killing them.
Yeah.
Whereas the bad guys weren't trying to avoid killing anyone.
And typically, if you are fighting against somebody who is trying to kill you and you are not trying to kill them, you're going to die a lot more often. So your death count should be way higher.
Yep. Faith should have lost more than 3 people.
Exactly. And the bad guys should have lost maybe 3 people.
Yeah.
Because if somebody is aiming to kill you and you are not aiming to kill them, you are not going to be fighting anywhere near as hard. And you're going to make a lot of fatal mistakes.
Yep. And I will say, though, how many times does Faith and Co, thinking they're being clever, come back and bite them in the ass this book? Like, by the last time where it's like, surprise, we knew your plan all along. It's just like, breathe in.
Yeah, like, I will say about that, it got annoying.
Yeah, like when her front door opens when they're trying to sneak in the middle of the night, it opens and I'm just like, again, like,
yeah.
At least spread the foiling out across books.
Yeah.
But it happened politically and it happened fight-wise, like, probably about 4 or 5 times in this book.
Yeah. That was a mess.
I guess we should get to the plot.
Yeah. So, do we have any characters to go? I don't think we do.
I don't think so.
I think we got everybody.
Yeah, there's every character. Yeah, every character we've talked about last week or the week before.
Well, you know what? There's Ryan.
Yeah, I guess we briefly touched on him last book, but he's actually in this book proper.
So we'll just go over him again because we haven't really spoken about him since the first book. So Ryan is her brother who basically sold her out to like the first guys that captured her in the first book and like sort of almost raped her, but not really, or like threatened to rape her. And then the other thing that was weird.
Just because you're phrasing, he didn't threaten to rape her.
Oh yeah, sorry.
He sold her out to the guys who threatened to rape her.
But another thing that was weird was when she was talking to Ryan about this, she was like, I have nightmares about it. I'm like still upset about it. I'm like, one, more traumatic things. Well, that's just it. One, fucking when. 2, more traumatic things have happened to you since.
Yeah.
You know? And like, for example, you killed your boyfriend.
Yep.
Does that not haunt your dreams?
Yeah, I
feel like that would haunt your dreams more than like some guy was like, I like your tits.
I mean, as well though, like, I mean, I feel like she could have made the same point without bringing in PTSD.
Well, the other thing is, okay, writing advice from Book Club with Bae. If you're going to have a character be like, I have PTSD because you are my brother, so I'll be out to a rapist who didn't actually rape me. I don't know. Actually, show the PTSD.
Yeah, just a wild thought.
Show evidence
Well,
of it.
yeah, and because we'll be doing Wildcats, which the first Wildcats book is Abby, who is their cousin, who actually did get repeatedly raped
Yeah, like nothing
throughout
happened.
the
I'm
course of the
sorry.
first book.
I'm so sorry. In the first book, like nothing fucking happened to Faith for her to even be
No,
traumatized over.
no, I like she's still justifiably correct in not forgiving Ryan.
Yeah, for sure.
She's still justifiably correct in thinking he's morally repugnant, that he's gross. She saw Abby's trauma. She saw that Abby was too traumatized to even shift. She, even though she didn't actually witness Abby get raped, she witnessed Abby almost get raped again. She protected Abby, all that stuff. Like, you know, what was the intent of what was going to happen to her and what she saw had happened to Abby and everything, that's enough. That's enough for her to not forgive him.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was sitting upstairs listening to his cousin get raped and was going to do the same to her. That's enough.
Yeah, that's enough. But then also like to bring in like trauma that we never see, and then for her to be traumatized by something that didn't happen is like, okay. And here's the thing. Urban fantasy characters go through a lot of things that would traumatize normal people without being traumatized by it.
Yeah.
Which I suppose is like a thing we could talk about as far as like the realism of urban fantasy. But that's just the reality of the situation.
Maybe supernatural creatures are just better at compartmentalizing.
Well, I think it's also just something that would slow down the book if we had to like talk about every traumatic thing that happened.
I mean, okay, like with Strange Angels, her PTSD from killing her dad got very tiresome. Not gonna lie, it got very tiresome. Like, can we be over dad doing a dead already, please?
Yeah, right.
So, fair point, I guess.
But also, I do kind of wish that we at least dealt with it more.
Yeah, I think one thing that would really help is, I mean, like, there's some books where it is dealt with in a way that's somewhat believable, where they deal with it in either little bits and pieces because other shit's going on. So it's only when they get downtime that they, you know, or there's characters that are in positions where I guess their personality and their occupation leads them more to like being capable of being really good at compartmentalizing shit. Like, there are some books that have that, but they're few and far between. Either people are either way too traumatized, or they're not traumatized, or they don't appear to be traumatized, but when it serves the plot, the dialogue tells us that they're traumatized.
Yeah. I think Mercy does a good job with it.
Yeah. For the most part, I think, yeah.
Because you know that she's like not happy about the things that have happened to her, but she's not like so like, overly traumatized that it's disruptive.
I mean, there's times where it is a little bit disruptive.
Well, for sure, but it's not egregious.
No. I mean, I will say that the mention of that she's still having panic attacks freaking in the 10th book was a bit much.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is like 2.5 years later, Mercy.
Well, not only that, I'm like, I think I would be having panic attacks about the river monster more than I'd be having panic attacks about fucking Tim.
Fair. And the fucking otters. The otters were just creepy.
Yeah. Like, and then also a fairy queen kidnapped you. Like, there's like so much has happened.
Yeah. Well, also the freaking I can't remember his name, but he was the guy that was in the same book as Tim, who was like the professor dude who turned out to be a fae that chased her and shit, and wanted to eat her, and then came back after the fact.
The
That
Fideo.
guy, he was creepy.
Yes, he was.
You know what else would be giving me fucking PTSD? Zombie goats. Sorry, miniature zombie goats.
And Blackwood.
Oh, Wood. Well,
Blackwood. The vampire
evil
from Bone
vampire
Cross.
dude. Yes, that one. You know what? It just also Wolf's existence.
And Corey Littleton.
Oh.
He was literally a demon.
And she literally watched him rip a woman apart while she just, you know. Mm. There's lots of creepy people. Tim was
I feel like we should just, because see, what I feel like would work for Mercy is if you just saw like one dream where like you just get a, and it would actually be a good way to recap the book too. Like one dream where she just has like flashes of all the shit that creeps her out, and then she wakes up and she's like, ugh, and then that's it. Just to show that like it affects her, but also like, you know, because it's like, you know, like there was a thing and then a thing and then a thing and then a thing, like, and then that's it.
Yeah, like I feel like as well, like I mean, like because okay, but bringing it back to this book, Faith did have a very like cathartic moment in this book, but I feel like it would have meant more if she'd been haunted by this stuff to some extent throughout the course of the series.
Yeah,
her catharsis, I think, would have been a lot more effective.
Yeah, but anyway.
But she's too busy dealing with her love triangle, and I love Jace, even though there's no possible way she loves Jace. I buy her loving Mark, because, you know, they're just like, they're that quintessential toxic relationship, you know?
Yeah, and every book needs a good toxic relationship.
Yeah,
that's a joke. Don't make your relationships toxic. I mean, unless that's the point. But don't make them toxic, please. It's annoying.
Because also, okay, let's bring up Mercy Thompson again just for a moment. There is a very good way of, like, Mercy and Adam is like the perfect example of a overly protective, dominant male. It like with, I guess, the female equivalent of himself type thing, where they're constantly butting heads. Where he's like, "I must protect her," and she's like, "I don't need no protection," type shit. But they're healthy about it.
Yeah. Well, because there's a lot of times where Mercy's, especially now, where Mercy's like, okay, I suppose.
Yeah, but like, also Mercy isn't, you know, I'm a strong, independent woman. I can do it all myself. When like she's like, no, actually, my strength comes from my peeps.
Yeah.
And Adam is also like, look, if I try and wrap you up in cotton wool, you're gonna yeet. So I'm doing my best here. I'm trying.
Yeah, they've definitely gotten better at compromising.
Yeah, so they are a perfect example of a relationship that, because of their personalities, could have easily been incredibly toxic, and it's actually quite healthy as a general rule.
Yeah, for sure.
Faith and Mark, though.
No.
It's just toxic all around.
Yeah. Okay, so 30 minutes in, the plot.
Plot. Okay, so we start off with Jace and Faith getting naked. He's like, are you sure you want to do this? And she's like, we got to be quick. And I don't know, like, I mean, I think we're supposed to think that, like, they're sneaking off for a midday romp or something.
It's absolutely what you're supposed to be thinking.
But no one talks like that during a midday romp, as far as I'm aware. So I'm like, what are we actually doing? And then Mark comes storming over. He's like, what the fuck is this?
And then he's like, not without me.
Oh, that's right.
He's like, not without me or not. And then it's written to make you think that they're about to have a three-way. And I don't understand why.
I think it's supposed to be like, oh, wait, what's happening now?
Yeah.
Because, like, also when you're reading it, like, you know, you would take the second to be like, but audiobook, it just keeps going. So, like, we don't really have that moment, you know? I feel like that's what it was supposed to do.
It was fucking dumb.
Yes. Turns out Faith was out for a walk because I guess when you live on a ranch with nothing else to do in the middle of winter, that you go for walks. Which I say that like I'm judging her. I'm not. Like, yeah, it's normal, I guess. And she gets a sniff of Ryan. So she's like, ah! So she runs back and she's like, I found a Ryan. So like they're going to go find him. And Mark's like, you have to go out in human form. I still outrank you. You're not alpha yet. And she's like, but I want to shift. And he's like, how are you going to talk to Ryan if you're a cat, Faith? And she's like, fine. So she yeets while Jason and Mark do a shifty shift. And they find Ryan. Because they catch up pretty quick. Because they're cats. They can run faster than her.
Because for some reason, Ryan is still on their property.
Oh, he's come back, I think, to talk to Mother. Also,
Call her.
Also, one of the things that was really jarring about this scene, right, is the last book ended with them playing chess together.
Yeah.
Because it... Or was it the last book?
I think
No.
So.
No, it was the book before last. The last time we saw Ryan. The last time we saw Ryan, they were playing chess together.
Yeah, that's right.
After Ethan's funeral, because he went and everyone's like, "Oh, look, it's Ryan! Come play chess with us." And he's like, doing like, I'm playing the next one at Faith, and she's like, "Oh shucks," it's like that kind of scene.
Yeah.
So it was kind of jarring to be like, "Oh, we hate Ryan again." Okay, but I guess we do. So, she's like,
"How long
what
has it been between books?"
This one I feel like is maybe 2 weeks off. I think they said in the last book that the vote was coming up in 2 weeks or something. So it's about 2 weeks after.
Yeah.
So it's been about a month since they've seen Ryan.
Yeah.
So she's like, what are you doing here? He's like, I need to see my mama. And she's like, no. And she's like, but she needs me like she needs to see me like she needs to see you because her son is dead and we're still alive. So she needs to see us. And she's like, I hate you. And he's like, Mom's forgiven me. Why haven't you? And she's like, because I have PTSD, damn it, and punches it in the nose. I will say, let's take the mentioning of the PTSD out. There are, like, this is one of the things that makes it a bit like, it's frustrating, but also it's well written in the sense that, yeah, of course, like, Mum, especially considering Ethan's dead, Mum does have the luxury of being able to forgive the kid that's always lived down to every expectation of him.
Yeah.
And has more or less been like the petulant, quintessential middle child.
Especially right after your other son dies, I can see why she's a softie.
Yeah. And because also Ryan is also just, he's incredibly weak-minded.
Yeah.
And I guess as a mother, she is like, okay, well, I must protect my weak-minded child, whereas she hasn't had that same protective instinct over our other children as much because, they're not.
Yeah.
But yeah, also though, Mum, she literally got your niece raped and almost got your he almost got your daughter raped and sold. he was involved in the plot of selling your daughter,
which is pretty unforgivable.
Yeah, no,
I would hope
I don't care how weak-minded. Like, if my son ever sold my daughter and my niece to international sex traffickers, I don't care how weak-minded he is, I don't think I could forgive him.
Yeah, I would hope that my mom wouldn't forgive I don't have a brother, but I would hope that my mom wouldn't forgive my brother for selling me into sex slavery. I think I'd never forgive my mom for that.
I don't think I could forgive my mom for forgiving my non-existent brother for selling me into sex trafficking.
Like, there are things you can forgive your son for. Selling your other child into sex slavery, not one of them. So...
Yeah, no, I'm definitely team literally everyone else in this situation.
Uncash money.
Yeah.
Not very Gucci of you. Not very Gucci of you indeed.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm definitely, in terms of the Ryan situation, I'm definitely team everybody else.
Yeah.
Everybody else. Faith's mum is in the wrong in this context.
Yeah.
But
I guess life advice from Book Club with Bay. If your son sells your other child into sex slavery, ground him. Your son is a bad person. And
Yes.
don't forgive him for that? That's fucked
and
up.
don't let him out of the cage.
Yeah, don't let him out of the cage.
He gets to stay locked up in that cage for life.
Yeah. It's where he belongs.
Yep. So yeah, Faith breaks his nose and then cries and has a breakdown, and Jace and Mark snuggle with her as cats, because also the way it's written as well, like, physical affection is far more forgivable as a cat than a human.
Yeah.
So I don't think it negates the angst of the love triangle that they're both willing to cuddle with her right now.
Right.
Because they're cats right now, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So they go back to where the boys' clothes are. They shift back. Faith's covered in blood, and they're like, Angela's going to be here soon, and Mum's going to smell Ryan's blood. Faith, you need to get cleaned up. And Mark's like, well, go get her a shirt. And Jason's
Right,
like,
because she's just standing there topless.
Yeah. And Mark's like, Jace, go get her a shirt. And he's like, do you really want people to see me coming out of Faith's room? Don't you think it would be... Because no one else knows about the love triangle yet. No one else knows. Everyone still thinks that Faith and Mark are hunky-dory. And Jason's like, don't you think it'll be a bit less sus if you go do it? And he's like, fucking fine. So he storms off. And Jace is like, nice tits. And Faith's like, thanks, bro. And then Mark comes back. He's like, grr. I actually can't remember what they talk about. So.
It's not important, I don't think.
Yeah, no. So Faith gets very dressed. She goes inside, and Angela is here. Angela is Ethan's widowed girlfriend, I guess.
Yeah, widowed girlfriend. Widowed baby mama.
Yeah.
And okay, this is the weirdest thing to me. It's like, if it's his girlfriend and nothing happened, and they're like not gonna tell her that they're cats, like meow, like okay, but she's carrying a cat.
Well, not necessarily. Hey, if she has the recessive gene and she passes on the recessive gene from her side, then it's a cat. I think that's why they want. That might be why it's not explicitly stated, which would have been a good idea, but that is actually probably the reason why they want Dr. Carver to check her out.
Yeah, probably. So
they can do a blood test on her and see if she is a recessive, and to see if the baby's going to be a cat or human.
Yeah.
Because, so werecats can breed with humans, but it's very rare, so they didn't know until about 2 books ago that werecats can breed with humans. And the babies are born human, but they have a recessive werecat gene. And then if double recessives happen, then you get a Casey.
Which is a cat.
Yeah. And
I don't know. I just feel like that's important information for her to fucking have.
It might be... Well, it's also a capital offense, as it's stated in this book, to tell people.
She's pregnant with a cat.
With a potential cat. They might want to find out if it's going to be a cat before they tell her. Also, question. If they do the test and it turns out that it is a cat that she's carrying. I'm sorry, I'm just picturing a human giving birth to a kitten. If she is having a little cat, with this new information, would that then are they going to create laws for this very situation where it is allowable, or do Like, or did they just go into a giant custody battle and shut the mother, like, and be awful and shut the mother out of the child's life?
I don't know. And then also this begs the question, is this the answer to their population problem? And can we murder Faith now?
Yeah, why don't we just, like, again, blood test a whole bunch of people and, like, IVF some werecats? That'd be a good idea.
These are the real questions.
And if you have, like,
Wait.
I mean, that said, though, as well, this kid, even if it's not a cat, can become a cat. Are they going to tell the kid that they can cat? Because even if he's not a born werecat, he can become a stray. It's like, for your 13th birthday, do you want to get a scratch?
Well, they're not allowed to. That's a capital offense too. But should it be if it's like technically a pride cat?
Yeah, it's the son of a pride cat. Can he become a stray?
Like no, not like a gay cat. So they're prides,
like lions,
like rare, and
that's not fine. Lions, man.
So okay, let me explain this. So they're
werecats.
No. You asked.
No,
This is
like,
no.
Yeah,
No, this is happening now.
This reminds me of my
This
arguments
is happening.
with Stixie.
So, so in this book, there are prides of werecats, and
pride cats are born as cats,
and then pride cats are born as werecats, and then if somebody with the recessive werecat gene gets rare and gets
are they like big cats?
Yeah, they're like big cats.
They're
like
panthers.
They're like panthers.
Are they shaped like house cats?
No, they're shaped like black panthers.
It's not so shaped like.
They're shaped like dark leopards. Okay. So, but if you have the recessive cat gene and you get you get scratched, then you can become a stray. And you're a stray cat with no pride.
It sounds like Redwall.
Oh, but they have house cat eyes.
They have house cat eyes, apparently.
Because the pupils are different.
So their pupils are different. And then further, now apparently, werecats can breed with humans, which makes sense because how else do you get a recessive werecat gene? You fucking dumbasses.
That's how they found out that
I'm
they
not
can
done.
breed with humans, because they found the recessive gene. They didn't know about the recessive gene.
Wait.
I think he's done.
Come back. I have things to say. He left.
Hashtag boycott men.
I know. When he comes back, we're finishing that. He can't get out of this. He may have won the battle, but he has not won the war.
He did have to partake in digestus, so maybe that's punishment enough.
In any case.
Yes. So Angela's just rocked up and they're like, okay, well, I guess we need Jace to go out because he's the only one that knows her because he dated her sister. And Faith follows Jace because she's also the only female around the same age. So she goes out and she's like, Jace, hi. And Faith is like, grr. Like she gets jealous of the pregnant chick hugging Jace.
It's fucking dumb.
Her dead boyfriend's best friend. And her twin sister's ex-boyfriend. It's pretty normal in this situation. And then she's like, oh, is this Faith? And Faith is like, well, yes, I am. And she's like, oh, you have scars down your face, but that's cool. I've heard so much about you. Let's go inside, I guess. So then they go inside and literally everyone is waiting for her, standing like in a big half circle.
Yeah.
Being like, welcome to the family, Angela. And she's like, wow, this is a lot of people.
Yeah, she's a bit overwhelmed.
Yeah, like, okay. If you are going to go meet your dead boyfriend's family for the first time while you are 3 months pregnant, you expect Jace to be there because, you know, she knows him. You expect Faith, Mum, Dad, Owen and Michael at most.
Did you bring me
6
one?
6 people.
What the fuck? You went down and got a brownie and didn't bring me one?
Go get her a brownie.
You're a jerk. That's not nice. I'm so offended right now.
My dearest love.
Me too.
Hmm?
Triggered. Are you triggered?
Yeah, I'm triggered. So, in any case,
Just ask him politely to go get you one.
if a werecat does a human and the human also has the recessive werecat gene, or you get 2 recessive werecat genes, then you get a rare. And it doesn't have to be scritchy scratched. And that's the end of that. Can you please go get me a brownie? No, I don't want your half-eaten brownie. Please go get me a brownie.
No.
Please?
Mm-mm.
Why not? Please?
You're asking the wrong way, bae.
My dearest love, whilst thou go get me a treat of the brownie type, yours forever, TJ. Please.
Nein.
Why not?
Warum not?
I don't know what you're saying.
Das sind deine Brownie. Du wusstest das nicht.
Czech has also voted and said that brownie must be gotten.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
voted
what?
and he
You
lost.
act like I could hear.
The chat's voted. You have to go get me a brownie.
Go. I don't know the correct direction of your door.
What
but
the
go.
fuck? Why not? This is horse shit.
My daughter has started to do please in the cutest way. She'll come up to me and ask me for something, and she'll go, please. And she looks up, and like she puts her hands up like this. And I'm like, my answer was no, but you're really tempting me to say yes because that was adorable. He's not getting you a brownie, is he?
No, and I'm really sad. Now he is.
Excellent. Guess sad was the correct word to use.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so you would expect there to be about like maximum 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
Jace, Faith, Mum, Dad, 2 brothers.
Yeah.
Nope, it's them plus Manx and the baby, which I guess like Owen's girlfriend and her baby. Like no, still no, because like ease her into it. Then there's Casey, and then there's Parker, Vic. Is there anyone else there?
I don't remember. But that's like
and
10
Brian.
people.
And Brian.
Yeah, and that's 10 people. Right?
Yeah.
Or 11.
Wait. Casey, Manx, does the baby count as a person?
Yes.
I don't feel like the baby should count
All right,
as
fine.
a person. Okay, so there's immediate family, then there's Casey, Manx, Vic, Brian, and Parker.
And Faith?
So 11 people. Oh no, she was part of the original 6.
Okay.
So that's 11 people. And the baby. Also, how do you think Holly's gonna feel that the ranch hands met the dead brother's pregnant girlfriend before her?
Who's Holly again?
Michael's wife. Ethan's sister-in-law. This baby's auntie.
Who also doesn't know about werecats.
Who also doesn't know about
How can you be
cats.
married to somebody and... Okay.
She travels a lot.
I mean, at least, like, in Mercy, if you were married to somebody, you got to tell them.
I think it was only mates. So I guess you would have to mate your wife.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it wasn't only mates because he
It
never
was
mated
married.
Christy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he never mated Christy, so that's fine.
Thank you.
Are you happy now?
Yes, very. Can you open? I can't open because nails. Thank you.
You need a can opening spoon.
I do.
I like the sound of cans opening. It's very satisfying. Yes. So they meet Angela and they're like, look, I don't know what he meant by this, but Daddy was like, whatever you decide, we're going to financially support you. It was followed up with, but we would like our physician to take a look at you, our family physician. But it was kind of sounding like if you choose to abort, we'll pay for it.
Yeah, right.
I don't think that's what he meant because, like, they're not going to be paying for her to abort their dead son's kid.
I think what he meant was if you decide to have us in the baby's life or not.
Yeah. I mean, Angela, run. Fucking run.
Mm-hmm.
Take the money and run.
I would. Don't let Aunt Faith be a thing.
I know, right? But yeah, so I guess this was just to wrap up the storyline of like, look, yeah, she's having the baby. She's super duper excited and everyone likes her and she seems to like everyone, even though it's weird. And because that's the last we hear from it about Angela, this book. But Faith's mom is like a nervous wreck about when she's about to walk in. She's like, what if she doesn't like us? I want to see the baby. I want to be grandmama. So that's that storyline done and dusted. Because we're wrapping up a lot of shit this book. Well, maybe not a lot of shit, but we're wrapping shit up because it's the last one.
Mostly the love triangle.
Yes, mostly the love triangle. And now it's time to go back to Montana. Because it's time for the vote as to who shall be the leader of the Territorial Council.
I know.
You're right.
I'm fine.
So Faith and Jace and Mark rock up because they traveled in the same car together because that's not awkward.
Yep.
They rock up and they're like, we need to get the key for our cabin. And Mark and Jason's like, Mark's like, Jace, you go get the key. And Jason's like, no, Mark, you go get the key because they both wanted to. They didn't want the other to leave the other one alone with Faith.
You both go get it.
Yeah, and Faith's like, I'll go get the key. And they're like,
You didn't bring me a paper towel. Can I help you? What?
Is he being a dick again?
Yes.
And they're like, you can't go alone. And she's like, I can go alone. I'm a strong, independent woman. So she
don't
goes
need no man.
Yeah. She doesn't need no man. She needs two. Because she's also selfish. So she goes to the lodge. But on the way there, Wild Colin Dean appears. And he's like, your face is looking pretty good, Faith. Because that's the way his audiobook voice is. He talks like this.
Yes,
and
he
it's
does.
like, okay. And it's like, can we, like, I feel like the dialogue and his actions is enough to show that he's stupid. But we didn't have to give him the, my name's Dean, words are hard voice, but we did. So
yeah, it's the voice he has.
Yes, he has the words are hard voice. It's kind of like the quintessential audiobook, this male character is stupid voice.
Yeah. Which is weird because stupid people don't talk like that.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
They talk like people.
Okay, ask your consultant if he heard someone talking like this, would he think that words are hard for them?
I have a question. If you heard someone talking like this, would you think words are hard for them?
I would assume they had actual genuine.
Oof.
No,
Oof.
Yeah.
like they've got like a terminal case of Down syndrome.
Let's not ask your consultant these questions anymore.
No, right?
Could she do that?
Yeah,
Oh,
she
okay.
could.
Okay. No whole.
Can you turn that down a little
I
bit?
could.
Please.
I could.
Please.
Really headphones.
Wherever you put them.
That's soft.
I can tell.
Right there.
Oh.
Thank you.
This is why I leave Stixie away from you while I stream. When he's home, which he is today. He's outside.
He is feeling
So-
sassy today.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, so
Extra tonight.
yeah, so they have a bit of a thing, and Faith is like trying to egg him into hitting her, and she's like, how's your stomach, Dean, where I stabbed you? Must be a great scar. Next time, if you push me too hard next time, I'll do it again, but worse, with no knife. And he's like, oh, and then Jason, Faith, oh no, Alex comes a running, and he's like, now's not the time for this, Colin, Dean, because, you know, like, apparently, like, he's never just Colin or just Dean, he's always Colin Dean.
Which I don't understand why.
I don't know, but I'm also going to say it's also really jarring whenever
Colin Dean.
whenever Jace calls Calvin Malone just Calvin or Cal. It's really jarring because I'm used to hearing Calvin Malone. Because everyone talks about him like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not okay. I understand that in books and TV shows and movies, people use like first and surnames more often than we do in real life, so we as the audience can use them as identifiers in the broader context of who's related to who and etc.
Mhm.
And also, it's also just a really good way to exposition someone's first and last name into a conversation.
Yeah.
Great. But then they continue to use them.
Yeah.
Repeat. And also, like, whenever have you ever noticed, it's like, tell me about your first kiss. Well, my first kiss was with, Brian Matheson, we'll say. Like, my first kiss was with Brian Matheson behind the bleachers below. Like, no one says first and last names when recounting these stories either. Like,
Yeah.
if I ever talk about one of my ex-boyfriends or something, like, it's like, oh, like, before Stixie, who was your longest boyfriend? I would never say first name, last name. I would say, oh, that was blah.
You know, that's one thing about exposition that's like really weird is that it's worked in such an odd way when it could be worked in a natural conversation. Like when someone says, oh, this person died, and then another person goes, oh, you mean Judy, who was a virgin and blah, 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 blah. When it could just be like, oh, Judy, like, wasn't she a fucking prude? And then someone's like, no, I think she was kind of secretly a whore. Like, because that's how you talk about people.
Yeah.
Like, you just
Yeah.
have like a normal conversation, but instead you just have someone monologue. It's like, just have them talk.
But even when it's not necessarily relevant, like, again, like when it, like in a TV show or whatever, where, like, you know, they're talking to like the teenage girl who has her first big crush or whatever, and it's like, and you know, she's like, I'm scared to kiss him or whatever because of blah. Well, my first kiss was with blah. Like, the last name's not even like, this person is just a name in one scene that we never meet ever. We don't need their last name.
Yeah.
But I feel like, though, they think that if we add in the last name, the story will ring truer. I don't know why. Like, people don't just use last names like in casual conversation.
I will say when I talk, like when Addie and I talk about school stuff, we do use first and last names.
I mean, it would also depend though. Like, I mean, if you had, say, 8 different Tylers in your grade, then yeah, last names are a thing. But if there was like one person who was incredibly well known named Tyler, and he's the only Tyler in your entire school, you would not refer to him as Tyler Smith. Is he being annoying again?
No, not
Just
at all.
Side punch him. No, because then he'll tackle you. Don't do it.
It's just like this.
Hmm?
Nothing. Build your zoo.
Is he still building a fucking zoo? Wasn't he doing that last week?
Yeah.
Did he only build it while he's there?
I'm basically a full-time job.
Yes. Because it's on my computer.
Okay. Makes sense now. Sorry, shushing. But yeah, so she goes in and gets the key, and it's now official that Parker's dad, who is one of the enforcers, he has sided with Malone because because his brother Lance, like Parker's brother Lance, is the cat that they turned over to the Thunderbirds last book.
Yes.
Again, I don't know why they didn't just like video him being like admitting to killing the cat, because he admitted it in the car.
Yeah.
He admitted it going up. He should have, like, they should have filmed a confession.
Yeah, they should have, but they didn't.
And saying I am going to own up to my responsibilities and tell the Thunderbirds that I did it, because he would have done it. He would have done it. He didn't fight them going up there. It was just he freaked the fuck out after he got up there.
Yeah.
He would have done it. But they didn't. That wasn't even a thought that crossed their minds. So they're like, we have the feather. This is enough. And it's like, well, no, it's not enough, but cool. Because we soon discover it's definitely not enough. But yeah, so Parker's dad is like, I think his name's Gerald. He's like, you're a whore, sleeping with all of your enforcers and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, ugh. And it's like, well, okay, she's not sleeping with all of them. She's sleeping with half of them. It's fine. She's sleeping with half of the enforcers that are not related to her. It's fine.
He's also like, you don't want kids, you don't want to get married, but yes, sleeping with everyone. And I was like,
you'll never be nothing. You're fine.
And I was like, well, he has a point.
Yeah.
You wanted your cousin John. He's a doctor.
I feel like he's going to be on board with the Dewey Nana routine.
I think he might be.
I think he'll want to play it. So she gets the key from Blackwell, and Blackwell's like, the vote's at 7, so tell your father if he wants to bring up anything else, he needs to do it before the vote. And it's like, okay. So then, because Blackwell knows, he knows what's going to happen. He knows that they have like charges to bring against Malone. So then she goes back outside and she says to her boys, her men, her lovers, we need to tell Daddy about us. And they're like, why would we do that? And Mark's like, or you could just pick and it'll be done. And she's like, no, they all know. Like, this is a big fucking secret. They know that they know. They knew that they would know because fucking, why would Alex and Colin Dean not tell them? So they go back to the thing, and Daddy is like, oh, you, Mark, and Jace are all sharing a room. I was like, well, that's not awkward. So she's like, Daddy, I have to talk to you. And then she goes outside and she tells him that, I love Jace as well as Mark. And Jace and I have done fuck. And Mark ain't happy and everyone knows. And he's like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
And he's like, Faith, you need to choose. And she's like, I know, Daddy, but it's so hard. And he's like, well, be an adult and fucking choose. Because this ain't good for anyone, Faith. Grow up. But in a, like, dad way. Because, like, anyway. So then he goes back inside. He's like, I needed to tell literally everyone because this is going to get brought up. Like, they need to know and not be shocked,
Right.
But he doesn't change the sleeping arrangements. So Faith and Jace and Mark are all still sharing a room. But Faith is, like, eavesdropping, like, listening to him tell them. And Jace comes up and he starts making out with her in the hallway. Because also, Mark won't touch Faith. Since he found out he won't touch her. And she feels like, well, if Mark won't touch me, then I can't touch Jace. But then Jace is like, this is bullshit. Just because he's being a dick doesn't mean we have to be a dick. So they start making out, and then Mark walks in, and he's like, excuse you, outside. And so he storms off outside, and Faith follows him, and they have sex. Does this happen later?
I don't remember, but it's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, so then they have, like, really weird sex outside.
Yeah.
And then they, like, go back inside, and Mark looks at Jace, he's like, you get first shower. And then he looks at Faith and he's like, it's time to go, Faith. We have a meeting to get to. You don't get to shower. So then it's like, team meeting, and Jace is, like, upset, and Faith's like, what can I do? He won't let me shower. And Mark's just like, you owe me, Faith. You've already cuckolded me. I also like that they actually literally use the word cuckolding in this book because that's what she did. Yeah. He's like, you kind of owe it to me. And she's like, fucking fine. So then they have a team meeting, and then he goes, like, team meeting's over. Because nothing really of consequence comes from it. They're just like, this is our plan, yo. And so, like, then team meeting's over, and Mark's like, I'm going to go have a shower, but don't you dare have a shower. If you have a shower, we're done. You owe it to me still that every werecat here knows that you fucked me. Everyone must know because you have emasculated me enough. So Faith doesn't shower.
Yeah.
Because they cannot smell them. Yeah. So then they go to the thing where the vote's going to happen. And then Blackwell's like, is there any pressing business prior to the vote? And Daddy stands up and he goes, I charge Calvin Malone with treason. And Calvin Malone's like, dude, all I did was call for a vote. You can't treason me for that. This is legal. And he's like, no, Thunderbird. And he's like, evidence. And Faith is like, waha, evidence, and holds up the feather. And, like, they're like, yeah, that's Lance Pierce's blood on a Thunderbird feather. But who's to say that didn't happen while they were pecking him to death? Who's to say that, you didn't pick up a stray feather and rub it in his blood? Who's to say this? Who's to say that? And it's like, this is why we get confessions, Faith. Like, yeah. Like, and they're like, do you have evidence? And, like, anything other than this? And they're like, no. And they're like, do you have any witnesses other than, you three? Because they also admitted to trespassing and shit like that. Because it was the only way to say how they got the feather. And they're like, no. And they're like, well, if and when you decide to come up with actual, non-vaguely circumstantial shit, let us know. Until then, vote time.
Yeah.
And then it's vote time, and Daddy loses, and Calvin Malone is the new head of the Territorial Council.
Yep.
and they're like, "Ugh," and Faith is sad, and everyone's like, ah, and all the alphas are locked away doing shit. And Faith decides we need to go and get the Thunderbirds and do our attack here. We gave peace a chance, and now we need to go to war.
Yep.
Because they're also planning on because the Thunderbirds owe them a favor for saving the toddler's life. So they're planning on using that favor to get the Thunderbirds to be like air support in a battle.
Yeah. Stop it.
And then the alphas have a break, and they're like, Calvin Malone's been like, he came prepared. He's got all of these proposals, and a third of them have passed. And Faith's like, well, what's passed? And they're like, oh, well, there's going to be like new state troopers to our city police, aka council enforcers, not just territorial enforcers. There's going to be this, there's going to be that. New alphas have to be voted in by the council at large. And then there's this last one where it says that tabbies cannot serve as enforcers until they have bred a daughter. And Faith is like, ugh! And it's like, well, that kind of makes sense. Being enforced is a dangerous job. People die in it all the time. Like, I mean, I get that it's supposed to be like sexist and shit, you know, because it's like, well, no, you can't, like, you have ovaries, therefore you can't do a job until you have given birth to another with ovaries.
Yeah.
But when each pride has one tabby,
Yeah.
and if a new tabby isn't born, the pride dies out. I'm sorry, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have an issue with that, Faith, if you have an issue with that, maybe go, well, how about we try, like, all the shit we're talking about in the last stream about, you know, how to increase the population and have more than one tabby. Maybe you should start bringing solutions to the table, Faith, instead of you stamping your foot.
I mean, that's kind of the issue with this universe is they set it up so that, like, Faith is in the wrong every time she's like, how dare they? It's like, well, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, like, it is kind of like an imperative of each species to make sure that your species survives.
Yeah, and like, you guys are harder to breed than fucking pandas. Like, come on.
Pandas aren't that hard to breed.
They are
Yes,
hard
they
to
are.
breed.
No, they're just uppity about who they breed with.
They're
Yeah,
also lazy breeders.
They're also lazy.
More
breeders.
difficult.
Yeah,
Fine,
they
difficult
use
to
ideas.
breed.
Oh my god, can you stop it?
I'm just being the voice of realism.
Oh my god,
Well,
go
it is-
back to your zoo.
I'm a
The end result is that
Go
there are
away.
few baby pandas born people. Few pandas are born people. That is her point.
We're right, and he's just being a shit.
He is being a shit.
Don't hit me. You're being filmed.
What's up, FBI? Or whatever Australia's equivalent of the FBI is.
AFP.
AFB.
Yes.
AFP, yeah.
P.
P?
Australian Federal Police.
AFP.
Australian Federal Police.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, we don't get really fancy with our naming of stuff. It's just literally what it is. There's no bureaus. So Faith is like horrified that she's not allowed to be an enforcer now until she has bebes. And it's like, well, that's fair. It makes sense. If you want us to be as equally horrified, maybe not have it make perfect logical sense.
Yeah, I know.
But they decide, yeah, they're gonna do the thing. They're gonna next day. Faith, Mark, and Jace are gonna go out on a cozy trip and go and get the Thunderbirds from New Mexico to Montana, which we find out later it wouldn't have worked anyway because they needed 2 fucking days to get from New Mexico to Texas. And they
Yeah.
were planning on attacking Malone, like, you know, almost immediately after this. It would have taken the Thunderbirds a week to get there. Because, you know, they need to rest and recuperate and shit. It's fine. Like, it makes sense. Like, it's a... Just because they can fly doesn't mean that they don't have energy levels, okay? So,
Yeah.
like, birds get tired. But then, before they can do that, Faith, Mark, and Jace all get arrested by Colin Dean because he's part of the new interterritorial enforcer squad.
Or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but yeah, he's one of them, and he has a gun, and he points the gun at Faith and handcuffs the three. Like, they all get handcuffed, and Lucas, Faith's cousin, is there, and he's like, "What the fuck did I do?" And they're like, "Nothing." So just stand still until, you know, we cuff them.
No.
And she's like, "Go find Daddy." And then she gets marched right to Daddy, and Daddy is about to get like all like. Daddy's about to go, and Faith is like, "But Daddy, he has a gun," and everyone's like, "Guns?" Because, you know, like, we get a little bit of an anti-gun spiel in this. Like, the rest of the gun stuff, I don't mind too much. Like, when they're like, "We don't like guns because, like, one, instinctively, we're cats and fear of hunters and shit." I'm like, okay. And two, they feel like it's cheating. Like, it's a principle. Like, a big part of their anti-gun stance is just the principle of the matter.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that, but then when the Brawn comes in and they have like their little anti-gun rant later on, it's kind of like, this feels like it's an anti-gun stance.
Well,
like, just
I'm
straight
sorry. No, like, rugged man that lives in the woods alone is going to be anti-gun. Like, go sit in the fucking
I get,
corner.
but he's a bear though.
Yeah, I get that, but like, still.
It would be stupid. Like, he could be there.
He's also like, I don't even like that.
He's a
hunters
bear.
use
He's not a
me.
hippie.
Like gay bear?
No, like
Oh.
rah,
I
bear.
thought you meant like a big, large.
I don't think bears
No.
go around. No, it's kind of more like deep from your throat, like a ooh, but like more roary than ooh. It's kind of like an owl, but a roar. You know what makes a really funny sound that you don't expect? A panda.
I know, right? They do. They make an interesting noise.
It kind of sounds like a sheep.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, my daughter was like going on about pandas recently, and my nan was like, "And what sound does a
There's
panda
a way
make?"
to make
And
it a circle. Okay.
just let him make his do his own fucked up way. If he does it wrong, that's his problem.
This fence doesn't include that. It doesn't include
I meant the path.
okay.
So they get arrested for trespassing, murder, treason, etc. Except for Jace. He doesn't get arrested for trespassing because he was invited into Malone's territory.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they're like, we're gonna hold them here in custody until the trial. And they're like, well, that could take weeks. And Malone's like, well, we could just do the trial tomorrow then. Everyone you could possibly have a witness is here.
Yeah.
So, like, let's just do it. They're like, well, fuck. So then they're gonna leave Colin. Oh, because Colin Dean is also like, she tried to kill me, and lifts up his shirt. And they're like, is that why you slashed her face? And he's like, yeah, she's pretty scary. And and Faith is like, no, he slashed my face and then I stabbed him. And he's like, don't lie, Faith. And then outside she threatened to gut me with a partial shift. And she's like, you played me. And he's like, don't be mad that I played you. I can't do his voice anymore. I can't.
That's fair.
He's like, don't be mad that I played you better than you tried to play me. And she's like, grr. And Calvin Malone's like, he's gonna guard Faith, and Faith's like, no, you can't do that. And he's like, well, why not? Are you implying that he's biased or that he's vengeful or whatever the fuck? And she's like, I'm straight out saying it. And they're like, no. And she's like running, like, this was the funniest mental image because she's running to everyone in the room while like Colin Dean's trying to chase her
I know, it was so
while
weird.
she's handcuffed.
Yeah, it was very odd.
But her reasoning is actually quite sound here. Like, I don't like a lot of what Faith says, but like this actually makes sense. She's like, no, it's dangerous. Like, okay, you have, and again, while she's saying this, she's running to from alpha to alpha with her hands tight, like handcuffed behind her back. She's like, either he slashed my cheek and then I stabbed him, which means that he freaking hates me and he's a psychopath, or I stabbed him in the stomach and then he still managed to have the strength to get the knife out of my hands and slice my cheek, which also means he's a psychopath. This ain't safe for me. He's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
And then Blackwell's like, someone else will guard her. So Alex Malone is now guarding her.
Yeah.
And the boys get taken away elsewhere, and she's in a room, and she's like, these cuffs are so tight and it hurts. And he's like, fine, I will undo one. And this is where we get the vapors comment.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't. So like she manages to convince him into undoing her handcuffs because they were done up so tight that her hands were turning black from all the blood pooling in there. But then like when he's uncuffing her, he starts like trying to like breathe into her ear and make out with her neck, and he's like, you're gonna be my wife. And she's like, excuse you, fuck no, you don't have what it takes to marry me against my will. And he's like, well, what does that mean? And she's like, well, you're gonna have to make kids, and I just don't see you having the capacity to rape me on a daily basis. And he's like, oof. But then Daddy comes in and he's like, I brought hot chocolate. And so Alex Malone eats, and he's like, and Daddy's like, so this is the plan. The boys are in the shed, and we're going to break them out, and we're going to break you out, and then we're going to attack. And she's like, but what about the air support? He's like, there ain't no time for air support. They're going to declaw you and kill the boys. So we got to do this now. And she's like, okay, Daddy, I'll wait. She doesn't wait.
Yeah, because that would make sense.
So then Alex Malone comes back in, and Faith's job is to find out where the guns are, like, because he's got one. Colin Dean has one, I think, and the guard outside her room has one, and the guard at the shed has one. So there's 4 there and 6 in a shed somewhere, but we don't know. Oh, well, we don't know that there's 6 in a shed yet. But so she finds out that there's 6 in a shed.
Keep going with the plot. I will be right back.
Okay. She finds out that there's guns in a shed, and then she gets the opportunity to escape. So, because he's like, I want some stew. Can I have it? And she's like, yeah. And instead of being a decent person walking around the bed to get it, he leans across her, and the gun is tucked in his pants. And she grabs the gun out of his pants and whacks him over the head with it. And she's like, oh, well, fuck. Now I'm stuck in here. So she opens the window and flirts with the guard outside her room, and then knocks him out, and takes his gun too. And then she yeets to the shed, and I can't remember how, but she tricks the guard at the shed into unlocking the shed and then breaking the locks off the door. And then she fucking gets the boys out. They're fine. And then they have to yeet back to the room. So then they yeet back to their cabin and knock on the door, and they're like, how did you guys get out? Yeah, we're not due to schedule you. Like, we're not scheduled to rescue you for another hour. And they're like, well, we escaped early, so we're gonna do this now. And so she texts her dad because he's at the lodge still. She texts Daddy, and she's like, we're out. And he's like, on my way. And then he comes, like, he runs through the door, and he's like, they're coming, they know you're out. So then Faith, Mark, and Jace as well, they all go into the bedroom to shift. Some of them are some of the others are shifting as well, others are staying human. And And then the fight starts. Fighting happens. And they manage to get most of the guns back. The only gun that they don't get back is Collins. And fighting happens, and people are getting gashed, and I think Faith and Mark kill, I think, a total of 3 of Malone's guys. And then they hear this thumping happen, and they all look over to the woods, and it's Elias Keller, who is the bear, and who found Casey in the book. She comes in, he's like, enough's enough, rah! And then so like everyone like kind of just stops, and he's like, there'll be no more fighting on my mountain. And then Colin Dean points his gun at Faith's dad and pulls the trigger, and Elias takes the gun out of his hand and snaps it and like knocks Dean unconscious. Like he hits him pretty bad, but he doesn't kill him, unfortunately. And so everyone like retreats back to their respective areas. And Faith is freaking the fuck out. She shifts back into human and goes to Daddy, and she's like, we need to get Dr. Carver here. He's going to be there in the morning anyway. They're like, we need to do whatever we need to do to help Daddy not dead from a gunshot wound to the chest. And Uncle Rick is standing there. He's like, Faith, there's literally nothing we can do. There's blood loss. He has a punctured lung, internal bleeding, all that crap. We can't save him. He's like, so you've got 2 choices. One, you can freak the fuck out and let that be your father's last moments, or you can go and talk to him and say whatever needs to be said before he passes. So then Faith goes to Daddy, and they have a chat, and he's like, you're everything I ever wanted in a daughter. I love you. Tell your mother that she was the best, like more or less like the sappy shit. Like, tell your brothers I'm so proud of them. Tell your mother that she was the air that I breathe, my one true love. Death will never truly separate us. Blah blah blah, all that stuff. He names Faith as his successor, like he names Faith as the new alpha, and then he dies. I really don't like it when she leaves me alone, especially for this bit, because I'm there we go.
Hi.
She back. You came back right at the right time. Daddy's just died.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Daddy died.
And he's like, you're everything I ever wanted in a daughter.
Is she, though?
That's what my thought was.
So Daddy lies. That's his last thing that he does.
Yeah.
Daddy's a dirty, rotten liar.
I've got no issue with the sappiness of the, like, tell your mother that she's the air that I breathe and that death will never truly separate us. I've got no issue with that. That's
I've got
fine.
no issue with that either.
Like, you're allowed to be sappy when you're lying there dead, like almost dead. It's fine. And then, so then Faith stands up. Like, Faith's naked right now as well.
Why is everybody always naked when people die?
Because shifters, I guess.
What did you say? It's what the public wants.
Yes. Yes, exhibitionism is exactly what the public wants in a death scene.
Sorry.
And Faith's like, okay, what the fuck do we do now? And Rick's like, well, we need to do a thing. Like, we need to freaking do some housekeeping shit. And she's like, okay, you guys go suss out their losses. You guys go suss out our issues. Uncle Rick, go get a ceasefire thing. And me, I'm going to go and put some clothes on so I can get... So... fucking... Oh, she's like, no, I need to call my mother. So she goes to call her mother. And this was one thing that really frustrated me because Mark went in with her, like, to assess her wounds because she's got gashes all over her because, she was a cat getting slashed by cats. And she's like, will you stay? And he's like, yeah, I'll be right back. And then he comes back like 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is literally the opposite of what she just asked, and she seems to have no issue with it.
Yeah.
Because she wanted him there for moral support, but she still dials the phone while he's at... Like, I understand he had to go get shit. Like, and he said, I'll be right back. But then she makes the phone call before he gets back, and it's like, what's the point of asking someone to be your moral support if you're going to do it without
Right.
them as your moral support?
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, so then she calls... She calls the home phone, and Michael answers the phone. And she's like, hi, Michael. And he's like, oh, how'd you get out? And she's like, I escaped. He's like, well, good on you, kid, you know? And he's like joking around. And she's like, for fuck's sake, stop laughing. Dad's dead. But she's like, Michael's, hey, where are you? And he's like, I'm in the office. And she's like, is the door open? It's like, yeah. And she's like, close it. He's like, well, fuck, something's happened.
Yeah.
Because the office is soundproof. So that's why she wants him to close the door. And she's like, there was a fight. And we all agreed it was the right thing to do, but Daddy's dead. And he's like, no. And she's like, go get Mom. So then he goes and gets Mom. And Mom comes in and she's like, Faith, what's wrong? And she's like, it's Dad. And she's like, no. And Mummy freaks the fuck out because, you know, her husband's dead. It's fine. I've got no issue with this scene at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, you know, you should be freaking out if your husband's dead.
Yeah. And then...
What do you mean,
And then Owen comes running in because, you know, he heard Mummy freaking the fuck out. And he's like, what's going on? What's going on? And Michael's like, talk to Faith. So Owen knows already that Daddy's dead. But he needs to hear it. Because why else would Michael be crying, Mum be freaking out, and Faith be the one on the phone? Like, there's one reason.
yeah.
So then Faith gets... So partway through this conversation, Mark comes in and starts sterilizing all of her gashes and shit. And she hangs up the phone and she's like, okay, I guess I gotta go talk. Stitch me up while I go talk. And he's like, maybe you should put some clothes on. So her, like, obviously, because she's got gashes, like, to her, like, inner and upper thighs and stuff like that. Like, I get that she has to wear close to nothing. Did she have to pick the lacy underwear? She goes out there wearing...
like Dad's dead.
Lacy, yeah. She goes back out there to talk to everyone in lingerie. She's
Which
wearing
is
lacy
so
boy
weird.
shorts. Yeah, lacy boy shorts and a bra, effectively.
Yeah.
I'm like, you couldn't have gotten a crop top and just some cotton boy shorts, or like... Also, I would imagine that if you're a shape-shifting cat that needs to get stitched after a fight, you would have at least a few pairs of bike shorts, like the short bike shorts.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine you would have a few pairs of those, but if not, just some cotton boy shorts. You don't
But
have
apparently,
to. Like,
apparently they don't. None of that.
no. She doesn't have cotton boy shorts. She's only got lingerie. So she goes out to talk to everyone. Massive leg spread in her lingerie because he has to stitch up her inner thighs. Nothing wrong with the leg spread. It's fine. But the underwear choice is a bit dodgy.
Yeah. Agree.
So yeah, Uncle Rick comes back in and he's like, well, look, they'll only hear a request for a ceasefire from you. They want you to come do it.
Yeah.
And she's like, why? And they're like, well, because of a thing. And they're like, okay, fine. She's like, oh, you also need to request to be alpha because now they have to vote on alphas. And she's like, well, okay, well, how are we going to win this? And he's like, you're not going to win. You're just going to lose gracefully. And then we'll go from there. And she's like, well, that sucks. Okay, but fine, let's go. Because everyone's all stitched up now.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, Faith, maybe you might want to go and try to dress the council in clothing and not lingerie. And she's like, oh, yeah, I guess so. So she gets all dressed up and she goes out. And she's like, I demand a ceasefire. And they're like, you don't have the right to demand a ceasefire. You're not an alpha. And she's like, well, fine, I demand to be an alpha. And they're like, no. And so she doesn't get to be alpha officially.
Yeah.
Oh, also, the enforcers that are there all pledge themselves to her, because they need to. So she does that. They council votes. Half of them vote yes. Three of them vote yes. 4 of them or 5 of them vote no, and 2 of them decline to vote. One of Malone's allies and Blackwell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then she's like, oh, and then Malone's like, but as a courtesy, I will give you a ceasefire until you bury your father. You have 5 days. And once your father's in the ground, I shall appoint a new alpha of your territory should you not provide me with a more worthy candidate. And she's like, you can't do that. And he's like, there's ways around it, bitch. And there are. So then they're like, okay, fine. So then they go back to Texas because it's the next day now. Elias Keller is like hardcore still team Faith and co.
Yeah.
He destroys most of the guns and all that stuff, and he's like, they leave a phone with him, to be like, and he said, I'll call if anything happens because Malone and all that is still hanging around there for a bit. And so they have to drive back to Texas because they have to take the body back. So they drive back and everyone freaks out. Like everyone comes running out, greeting them at the car, all hugging and consoling and shit. And Michael's like, Holly's inside, and Faith's a fucking bitch. She's like, why the fuck is Holly here?
Yeah.
And Michael's like, because she's my wife. What do you want me to do? Tell her she's not welcome at my dad's funeral? Like, the fuck's wrong with you? And she's like, oh yeah, I guess so.
Faith is a fuckwit.
Like, Faith's right that it's a pretty bad time to have a human hanging out around the ranch, but also, like, what's Michael supposed to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Say, excuse me, wife. No, you're not welcome at my family's home while we're all grieving my father. Like, so then Mum's like, I want to see the body. And they're like, okay, well, we'll take him out to the barn because they also told Holly that he died in a car crash.
Yeah.
They're like, a bullet wound just doesn't. Also, like, I wouldn't have gone with, oh, we told her he died in a car crash, so the bullet wound will be a bit sus. I would be like, well, normal people don't bring their freaking corpses back to their house.
Yeah.
So we can't let her know that his body is here.
Yeah.
That would have been the reasoning I used. But anyway, so Mummy and Faith go out to the barn. Faith passed on the death will never truly separate you thing. Mother does some, like, it all went by so fast, monologuing, normal grief stuff. It's fine. And then they're like, Casey, you need to distract Holly, but they tell Holly, hey, Holly, you need to distract Carly because that's what Holly thinks her name is, while we all do a team meeting. And they're like, okay, team meeting time. So Malone thinks we're going to bury Daddy on Saturday. We're going to bury him in 2 days instead, and then we're going to attack. And they're not going to, no one else will be allowed at the funeral except for the people at the ranch. And then they'll do a proper memorial for him after it's all said and done.
Yeah.
And so the plan is bury Daddy in secret, sneak into Malone's territory and kill Malone.
Yep.
And then they go back out and Holly's like, your family's just freaking weird and why does everyone keep dying and I don't understand and blah, blah, blah. And I kind of like Holly.
I do too.
She's like, shit is sus. Okay, it's sus and it's weird. And then Holly's like, so why are you living with them anyway? Because I think that she's their cousin. And Faith interrupts and she's like, hey, Holly, can I talk to you in the hallway? Yeah, her family died like 2 months ago, and we're all she has left. And it's like, oh yeah, that's really gonna help. Like, her parents die and then your brother dies and now your dad dies all in a 3-month span. Like, that's normal.
Yeah, like you're not helping the optics here.
No. And then we time jump to the funeral or
Yeah.
post funeral. And yeah, so Daddy's being buried next to Ethan, and I can't remember what they're all talking about. They're talking about some shit. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna go meet. We're gonna leave in the morning to go get the to go talk to the Thunderbirds and this and that, and then on Friday night we're gonna attack, and this is our plan because we need to know what the plan is." And it's fine us knowing the plan in like the logistics of the plan now because it doesn't work out. It doesn't work out. It fails, so it's fine because then they look up and they see Calvin Malone and co driving down the driveway.
Yep.
And they're like, well, fuck. And Holly's still there. Fucking Holly. Oh, Ryan rocks up as well. That's right. She's yelling at Ryan to fuck off. He's
Yeah.
like, Mom needs to know that I came. She needs to, like, I can't have Mom thinking that I didn't come. And she's like, no, go away. And then it's like, Calvin Malone's here. No. And then, so Faith runs over and she's like, okay. So, Casey, Manx, Des, like, you guys all need to yeet now. Like, Mike will take Holly to this isn't going to end well. Everyone needs to fuck off type thing. Women and children must go.
Yeah.
And Ryan's like, I'll drive him. And Mum's like, I'm staying here. And Faith's like, no, you need to go. And she's like, no, this is my home. It was this, like, this has been my territory since my birth, you know, for over 50 years. It's like, I'm not leaving. And Faith's like, well, fine. But everyone else yeets. And Holly is like, why are we running? And then she looks at Michael and she's like, you're a mafia lawyer. You have a mob family, and starts freaking the fuck out because she thinks she's married to a fucking gangster.
Which is a fair assumption given everything that's happening right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, most people, because then they're also going, they're going to kill her. And they're like, and she's like, what the fuck's going on? Like, and yeah, most people don't think, oh, yeah, werecats as their first.
Right.
So Michael more or less just drags Holly while she's just like being like, no, tell me what the fuck's going on. And he's like, no, and drags her along. And so they all yeet. And then Calvin comes out and he's got like his son with him. He's got one of Parker's other brothers with him, and because they're also like, how the fuck did they know that we buried Daddy today?
Right.
They thought the funeral was in 3 days. Well, it turns out, we find this out later, but doesn't matter. It turns out that Parker got drunk the day before and accidentally slipped to his brother on the phone.
Yeah.
That they were burying him today. So he told his dad, who told Calvin. And they're expecting Alex Malone to formally challenge Faith for alphadom.
Yeah.
Which is the legal way to do it. But Kenton Pierce steps up and he's like, I challenge as alpha. And they're like, what the fuck? And Faith's like, I accept. And we'll fight out here, not in the barn, because the barn would give you the advantage or something. And he's like, okay, well, Colin Dean's going to be my champion. And they're like, wait, what? And he's like, he's going to be my champion. And she tries to goad Kenton Pierce into fighting himself. She's like, oh, are you too scared to fight a little girl? Because she's like, I can't fight fucking Colin Dean.
Yeah.
And Colin Dean's like, no, well, come on, like, hurry up. Let's get fighting. And she's like, can I go get changed first? I'm in a funeral dress wearing high heels. And they're like, that's fine. And Jason Mark, they're both like, let one of us fight.
Yeah.
You cannot fight Colin Dean. He will kill you. Like, you're like 5 foot. I think Faith is like 5'7". He's like 6'7".
Yeah.
Built like a fucking Mack truck. Like, he will kill you, Faith. And she's like, I got to do it myself. And they're like, why? And she's like, because if I don't do it myself, then everyone will know that I can't fight him. And they're like, well, that makes sense.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. No one will look and go, oh yeah, no, that chick couldn't fight the big giant guy and think badly of her.
It's so dumb.
But No. And Mark's like, I'm not going to let him kill you. And she's like, okay, but make sure I'm actually going to lose the fight before you stop it. And it's like, Faith, you never had a fucking chance of winning.
Yeah.
You
No.
never had a chance of winning. But then, so she goes down, she's like, okay, let's go. And then she turns to face Colin and he punches her in the face. And then it's all just fucking downhill from there. We don't get a lot of, like, honestly, there's not much to say about this fight. It's pretty fucking short.
Yeah.
She gets drop kicked. She loses consciousness for a minute and then she wakes up and she's like, what happened? And they're like, and everyone's like huddled around her and she's like, did I win? And they're like, no, Face, you didn't win. You didn't even land a hit.
Yeah. They're like, no, that was pretty fucking pathetic, actually.
You just got the living shit beaten out of you.
Yep.
And they're like, okay, we have to go. Because, like, Mark stopped the fight just as Dean was about to kill her. And Kenton Pierce is like, you don't have to leave. Like, Faith, you don't have to leave. And she's like, I'm not staying here. And he's like, you don't have to live here, but you can stay until you're well enough to recover for a minute. And Mark's like, no. And Jason's like, look, maybe, like, she's pretty fucking rough. That might be a good idea.
Yeah.
And Mark's like, I'm not leaving her here alone. And he's like, no. And Kenton, bless him, he is a sweetheart. He's weak as shit, but he's a bit of a sweetie. He's like, no, everyone can stay. It's fine until you guys are ready to go. You can stay. It's fine. And Mum's like, they're not going in the house. And Calvin Malone's like, now, Karen. Like, honestly, every single time one of these guys tries to be condescending, it's always just now.
Yeah, I know.
And she's like, no, it's literally our house. Like, no. So they go inside. Faith passes out for a while. She wakes up. She feels even worse than she did. Like, she's literally a fucking walking bruise with a concussion and broken.
Yeah.
Broken bones. Like, none of it's good. Okay, she ain't good. And so they pack up all the shit. She makes. I'm not gonna lie. I would do this too. She doesn't take all of her clothes, but she makes sure she takes all of her underwear because she doesn't want any of them going through her underwear.
Which is fair.
They pack up as much as they can. They take, like, the pride call tree, all that stuff, and they fuck off.
Yep.
All the others, they went to Mark's house in the free zone, so that's where they're all going now. And Faith is like, I need to do a thing. I need to call Uncle Rick because he thinks that, we're attacking. So she calls him and she's like, Uncle Rick, he's like, what's wrong? And she's like, I did they found out and a thing happened and I'm beaten up now and I lost the territory. And he's like, no. And she's like, we're going to get it back, I promise. And he's like, okay, I know. Call me soon type thing. And then they have to call through all of the pride and be like, hey, so this happened. Would you like to yeet with us or would you like to join New Pride? And most of them yeet.
Yeah.
Most of them join. Most of them stay with Faith. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't either.
But they do. So then they go back to get to Mark's house. And Holly's like, what the fuck happened to you? And what the fuck is going on? Is this a safe house? Is this a mob safe house? What the... I've been kidnapped.
Yeah, basically. Which, poor Holly.
Yeah, and Faith's like, Michael, you didn't tell her yet. And he's like...
No.
He's like, well, one, it's not particularly an easy conversation to have with someone. And two, the automatic death sentence is kind of a big deterrent. I don't know what to do. And Faith's like, you're right. I'll do it. And Michael's like, why? And she's like, because what are they going to do? Kill me twice? That becomes like a kind of like a catchphrase of this series. What are they going to do? Kill me twice. And he's like, okay, yeah, no, I guess that makes sense. So Faith is like, so Holly, we're werecats. And Holly's like, Michael, I'm freaking the fuck out and your sister's making jokes. This ain't cool. And they're like, no, for real, we're werecats. And she's like, no, yous aren't. And Jason's like, I'll show her. And he gets naked in the middle of the room and she's like looking at Casey like, Michael, think of the child. And Casey's like, It's weird, I know, but it makes sense, I promise. And they're like, and Jace just starts shifting, and Holly's like, you spiked my drink and freaking the fuck out. And then Jace becomes a big cat, and he's like, meow. And she's like, and they're like, do you want to touch him? And she's like, fuck no, I don't want to touch him. And they're like, touch him, he's real, I promise. And she touches him, and she's like, you guys are fucking cats? And they're like, yes, we're fucking cats. And she's like, and so she's like, she takes it pretty well in the end. She has a bit of a freak out, but then she's like, wow, this is insane, but I guess
But
we'll do a
okay.
thing.
Yeah.
Yep. So then they start talking, and something about, and she's like, and then Faith is like, okay, well, now that that's settled, we need to kill Calvin. And Holly's like, wait, the fuck? You guys kill people?
Yeah.
And effectively, the way it should have been explained is, look, we're kind of like the mob, but the cat version.
Yeah. Like, the mob thing's not too far off. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, they still kill people. But then, yeah, so Holly and Michael go off to do chatty chats about, like, cat stuff, and and I love the next morning when she's like, so is anyone allergic to your cat dander?
It's a fair question. What if you were allergic to yourself? Oh my god.
I think that's probably something inherent within them, that they're not allergic to themselves.
It would be funny, though.
Could you imagine if one of them was allergic to house cats?
It'd be hilarious.
Well, that's the thing as well. Like, a lot of because a lot of animals don't like them because they read them as predators, right?
Yeah.
Which I kind of don't like. Like the fact that like horses are freaked the fuck out by them, because horses are usually used to cats in general.
Yeah.
Because most barns have at least one cat because hay attracts mice, and
Yeah.
so cats. That is one thing that I do like in Mercy, where the animals kind of like smell the wolves more like dogs.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that, because it's like
where like dogs see wolves as like alpha dogs.
Yeah.
They're like dog on steroids, weird. And then they read Mercy as really weird.
Yeah.
And they don't know what they think about. They're like, I don't know how I feel about that. But like, they're like, I understand wolf. I don't understand coyote. That's just bizarre.
Which is weird, because coyotes, like gray wolves and coyotes, are very closely related.
Yeah.
They're like one,
they can interbreed.
They're like one thing apart. Yeah. They're closely enough related that they can not just interbreed, but they have fertile offspring.
Yes.
Like horses and donkeys can breed,
but they don't have fertile offspring.
Yeah. But yeah, a coyote and a wolf, they don't often breed. They don't often, because they don't like each other, but they can.
And they can have fertile offspring.
Yeah, so it's weird that they're like, oh, wolf, you're fine. Coyote, you ain't fine.
Yeah.
But we digress. Poor Owen, though. That's one of the saddest things. I don't know if you remember, but in the first book, it's mentioned that like Owen is like hardcore, like wants to be a real life cowboy. His parents finally caved and bought him a horse once, and they had to euthanize the horse because it freaked out so bad that it broke its own leg. Yeah. My poor Owen. All he ever wanted was to ride a horse.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Faith's pretty fucked up. Then she goes and falls asleep, wakes up, and it's like mid next afternoon. And she's like, "Why'd you let me sleep?" And they're like, "Because you're fucked up, Faith. Like you're bad. Your body is bad."
Yeah.
Dr. Carver is also there because he was at the ranch for the funeral. And he's like, "Okay, well, you can try shifting now after you eat." So she goes and gets food and doesn't eat, and then she goes to shift. I think this might also be where where Casey finds out about Jace.
Yeah.
No, that happens later. That happens after they get back. So Faith eats, and then she's like, "Okay, I'm going to shift a couple times." But then she goes overboard.
She just bounces back and forth, and then Mark's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I love the pain."
Yeah, so like more or less, like this is like the cathartic thing where Faith goes through like every bad thing that's happened to her in the series, and she uses that pain to just fuel shift after shift after shift. She shifts about 30, like back and forth about 30 times. She's mostly healed now.
But it's very weird. It reads
Yeah.
as weird rather than like cathartic.
Yeah, like it's like Miguel holds me down. I slash at him. I'm in my basement and Luis is there. Andrew is holding me against a thing, and now I'm a cat.
That's the other thing, because it like changes tense and stuff. When I was listening to it, I was like, "What's happening? Like what?"
Yeah, I imagine if it had been done, like visually, like I think if this was like a scene in a movie or a show, it would read a lot better than does on the page.
I think had she not changed tense, it would have been fine.
Yeah, probably also that. But yeah, so then by the end of it, because after a shift, you need to eat, right? After a shift. Faith goes through like 15 to 30 shifts or what, well, about 30 shifts or so, and without eating once. And so she's so exhausted that she can't even lift her own head up. Mark walks in and he's like, "What the fuck?" And she's like, "I needed to feel the pain." And he's like, "I don't understand." And she's like, "It helps me." And he's like, "I don't understand." And Jason's like, "She's punishing herself, obviously." And Faith's like, "No, I'm well, yeah, no, I guess I am." And
Yeah,
she's like, I object to the phrasing, but not the actual intent. How dare you?
it was weird.
So yeah, then they feed her and water her, I guess, because she's now livestock. And then they're like, "We need to book flights to freaking Roswell because that's the closest airport to the Thunderbird." So they book flights, and then they go to Roswell. And she's like, "Oh, the bird that we had in the basement. I'm gonna see if he'll do recon because we spared his life." So they do that, and he's like, "No." And she's like, "Okay, well, fine. As payment for your life, then you need to give us safe passage to and from your nest." And he's like, "Okay." So then they fly them up there, and she's like, I demand my payment." And they're like, "Okay, well, what do you want, stupid cat? Tell us." And they never speak to us again because they don't like cats. And she's like, "Bloodshed, lots and lots of bloodshed." And they're like, "Ah!" And the birds are like super duper excited and they're arguing over who gets to go.
Mm-hmm.
And they're disappointed that some of them have to stay back to watch the children. So they draw straws and they're like, "Okay, well, this is the thing." It's like, "How will we know who you are?" And she's like, orange construction tape on our arms." And she's like, "Okay." Faith's like, "I will leave you my phone and we will discuss details later, but you're in." And they're like, "We're fucking hella in. Can we eat our kills?" And she's like, "You absolutely cannot eat your kills." They're like, "But pretty please." And she's like, "But no." So then they leave. And then they're back in a hotel room waiting for the flight the next morning.
Yeah.
And Mark's like, "Okay, I'm fucking done. I'm done. I'm done waiting, Faith. Time to choose, bitch." Because also, like, up until now, there's also been just a lot of love triangle tension that we've just glossed over. But this is an important part of the love triangle.
Yeah.
And Faith's like, "I'm not ready to choose." And Mark's like, "Well, I'm not ready to wait anymore. I can't wait. I can't do it. It's not fair. I've loved you since you were 15. Okay?
Creepily.
He can live without you. I can't live without you. You need to pick, okay? Because this is torture. Purgatory is hell, Faith, and I don't want it anymore." And she's like, "But Mark, I don't want to." And he's like, "Okay, well, I'm done. Faith, no, Jace, don't let her follow me. I'm out. I'm done." And then Mark leaves.
Yeah. Like a sensible
Faith's like,
person.
yeah, and Faith's like, "No, Mark," and tries to chase him, and Jace is like, "No, he doesn't want to talk to you, Faith. Leave him the fuck alone." And then they cuddle all night. Like, well, initially he's like, there's two beds in the room, and he's like, "Look, I'm gonna sleep here. I'm sleeping in this bed. I'm gonna go have a shower. You pick whatever bed you want. I don't care." Well, he does care, but he's like, "Up to you." Faith chooses the other bed, and it's like, well, duh, but also if you hadn't have been a brat, you would have had Mark. He wouldn't have left. Okay,
Yeah.
this is your fault, Faith. So then Jace comes out. He's like, oh, okay. And then he gets in his bed, and then they're both lying there listening to each other not sleep. And Faith's like, I need a cuddle. And he's like, okay. So he comes over and they cuddle. And then next day they go back, and Casey's like, where's Mark? And they're like, I don't know. And she's like, what did you do, Faith? This has to be your fault. And everyone is like, and Holly's like, you don't know that, because Holly and Casey are the only two that don't know that Jace and Faith were banging.
Yeah.
And then it comes out and Casey's like, you just have to have everything for yourself, and storms off. And it's like, okay, she's not wrong, but also, Casey, you're 13 years old.
Yeah.
Jace is 25. You're 13. You can't actually genuinely be
Is it
upset.
Jason Casey?
Huh?
Is that
No.
Okay.
No, that would have been too creepy.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like,
No.
I mean, I wouldn't
Do you
put
want
it
me to tell
past
you who
her.
Jace is with?
Yeah.
Abby.
Huh. How old is she?
She was 18 in the first
Okay.
book. So she's legal.
Still
Maybe she was
weird.
17 in the first book.
That's still. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
Cool.
it's probably about the same age difference as Faith and Mark, but the difference is, though, that Jace hasn't been living with Abby since she was prepubescent.
That's true.
I think that's a big difference.
Yeah.
And whereas Mark was like, she has finished puberty, I must have her.
Yeah.
Like, he's known Faith since she was, like, in elementary school.
Yeah.
And he was not. So then Casey storms off, Faith goes and puts bags down, and then Jace like goes in to talk to Casey. He's like, look, it was a thing that happened, and blah, and talks to her, and Casey calms down, it's fine. And then Vic says, look, Mark, and like, because Vic is also Mark's best friend, and Faith is like, he just left us, Vic. And Vic's like, he's coming back for the battle, he's just not coming back to you, it's fine. He didn't abandon the pride, he left you. This is a you thing. And she's like, you've spoken to him? He's like, of course I spoke to him, he's my best friend.
Yeah.
And she's like, so then Jace calls Mother, and he's like, Mummy, is Calvin around? And she's like, no. Well, he's like, oh, I think I might want to come home. Is Calvin there? Let me talk to him. And she's like, he's not here. He's still helping Ken get shit set up, because I need to make sure that Calvin's still at the ranch, because otherwise it's a pointless attack. And she's like, no, he's still in Texas, but don't go there. He doesn't think he'll be able to stop the other alphas from giving you the death sentence. And it's just like, you stupid woman, but fine, okay, cool. He's like, okay, he's still there, and they're like, okay, we attack at midnight. So it's now approaching midnight. They sneak back into the territory. Okay, well, they don't walk, they walk. They drive, and they're like, okay, you guys get to, the women and children are staying at a house. Ryan's supposed to be there watching them. And Mom is like, I want to go, and Faith's like, no, Mom, you can't come to the battle. And she's like, excuse you, Catherine Faith Sanders, I will be going. I won't get involved. I just want to be there when the outcome is determined. No one is going to kill the old lady. And she's like, okay, Mom, I guess that's fine. So then they go. Everyone's ready to go. Faith is like, okay, I have a shifted hand and a crowbar. Let's do this. And they walk up to the door, and she's about to open the door, because they're hoping that they can just sneak in to the house and kill Malone, and then it'll be mostly done anyway. Which, solid plan. One thing they didn't see coming was, though, Jace's little sister overhearing the phone call and calling Daddy and being like, Daddy, Jace did a phone call to Mum to see where you were. And Calvin's like, well, that sounds sus. Everyone's sleeping cat form, except for you guys who will stand watch. And so, yeah, that's what happened. So then, all these cats come pouncing out, and they're like, And they're like, what's with the orange arm tape? And Faith's like, it's a fashion statement, okay? And then Colin's like, okay, you guys kill the Toms. Faith, you're coming with me. And she's like, no. And then they're like, okay, well, we'll just kill Jason because they're in perfect position to kill Jason. And she's like, okay, fine, I'll go with you. And then she looks at Jason and goes, I'll kill him quick and be right back. And it's like, how do you think you're going to kill him quick? But I guess because one of the reasons why she did lose the fight, though, was because she didn't partially shift, where she's partially shifted now, I guess.
Yeah.
And so then he takes her inside and starts dragging her to her bedroom. And she's like, and then she sees Kenton. Oh, birds come. And he's like, they got air support. So they all run out with guns with silencers because I guess they all had silencers laying around.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, fight's going on outside. He's dragging her to a bedroom. And she sees Kenton, and she's like, are you really gonna, like, don't the rape threats ever get old? And Kenton Pierce is like, oh, R word, this ain't good. He's like, Colin, I think I order you to let her go.
Yeah.
And he's like, lol, no. And then he's like, well, I'm gonna tell Calvin Malone. And he's like, lol, and knocks him unconscious. And then tries to rape Faith. And I'm just like, I mean, I have to give him points for
everyone's a rapist.
I mean, that said, though, most of these guys, right, like, okay, because every urban fantasy has the prerequisite fucking token rapey character.
Yeah.
At least this one actually tried to fulfill it.
That's true.
The rest of them are just like, I'm going to rape you. Or, wouldn't it be fun if I raped you? And they're like, oh, lol. No, I'm just going to kick you in the balls and then it's over. But he at least tried to follow through. So, like, he gets an A for effort. I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
But then, one thing that was amusing, that I found kind of amusing, I don't know if you picked up on this, but you know at the beginning when she threatened to like eviscerate him with a shift, like with a partial shift, is how she kills him. She gets like her claw and just like starts clawing at his stomach and rips out his intestines.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then she goes outside, her shirt's ripped open, she's covered in blood, like her pants are like half ripped off, and Jason's like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I killed him. He's like, but your shirt. And she's like, yeah, I killed him. It's fine. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
So then battle happens. And it's effectively just like, you know, she looks around. Birds are being shot out of the sky. Cats are like hitting at each other. She's like, oh no. And then she sees, and then someone's about to pounce on her, and then like random black cat appears. And she's like, oh, look, it's Ryan. And it's like, how the fuck do you know it's Ryan? You all look alike. But anyway, it's Ryan. She's like, why are you here? And he's like, because he's a cat. And she's like, oh, you're looking for mum. I don't know. Go find her, please. And he's like, wow. And so he goes into the thing. And then so she's trying to find Malone, and like cats are coming, and it ain't good. And then it looks like and some cat, like, you know, she looks around and she sees like the sons of the alphas like protecting the alphas because like they're all being cornered. And she's like, we're gonna lose. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna lose. We're all gonna die. And then she hears a roar in the distance, and she looks up, and then like 40 more cats jump over the fence, all with armbands, and 2 bears. And she's like, what the fuck? And then she's like, oh, it's strays. Mark came and got all the strays. And I'm guessing Keller and another Bruin, whoever the fuck that is. But yay. And then Calvin Malone's holding Mummy hostage. And Ryan's like, "Row!" and jumps and like gets killed. And then Jace stabs Malone, and then the fight's over.
Yep. It's pretty much a nothing burger.
Yeah. And then more or less once that happens, like it's just like, oh, Malone's dead. Done, apparently. Like, I guess no one felt the need to keep fighting.
Yeah.
And so then, you know, people are shifting back to human and shit. And she's like, okay, Thunderbirds, thank you very much. And they're like, okay, are you sure we can't eat any of the dead? And she's like, yeah, no, you can't eat any of the dead. And they're like, okay, well, we will collect our own. So then they collect their dead and fly away. And then she sees, and then she's talking to Michael, and she's like, so what are our losses? And he's like, oh, well, there's 15 dead in total. We lost 3, not including Ryan, because Ryan's dead. And then she's like, I could never have forgiven him for what he did to me. Not even him saving my life made me forgive him, but him dying to defend our mother, in that moment, all is forgiven. It's like, well, I guess. Would you forgive your brother that tried to sell you into step? Like, there'd be a part of you that didn't quite hate him anymore, but I don't think I would forgive him.
Yeah, no, nothing would make me forgive him.
No. And Mike was like, Mum wants to bury him next to Ethan, and I think you should let her, because, you know, like, she just lost her son and then her husband and now another son.
Yeah.
Like, she's kind of devastated, and it's like, yeah, I would hate him. I would hate him less enough to allow for that.
Yeah.
And then Mark was like, okay, we lost blah and blah with like 2 random pride cats, because all the pride cats came and fought as well, not just the enforcers. And then there's the 3rd. You're going to have to do something about that. And she looks over and she's like, I've been avoiding looking at him for the last half hour, but there he is. Kenton, your brother Parker's death is your fault, because it is Parker under the sheet. Because Parker's been like, this book, he's been like drowning in alcohol type thing. And yeah, he betrayed, and like, I guess his redemption was dying.
Yeah. Something, I don't know.
Yeah, and Kenton's like, I don't know how this happened. You know, I just passed on a message, and now I've got another brother dead, and my last brother fighting for his life, because their youngest brother is one of their pride cats as well, and he's like in critical condition. And Faye's like, well, you lay down with dogs and you get fleas, Kenton. This is all your fault. And it's like, it's kind of not. But, you know, Faye's the bitch.
Yeah.
And she's like, you can warn him for a bit, and then I want you gone. You're welcome back for the funeral, because Parker is being buried here. Your father's not allowed to come. And then she goes and talks to Jace, and she's like, Jace, and he's like, I know you want Mark. And she's like, what? How did you know? And she's like, because you looked happier that he came back than you did that I stayed. And she's like, and he's like, don't tell me you still love me. Fuck off, Faith. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna go back to my pride, try and sort this shit out, my birth pride, try and sort shit out, and try and, like, you know, make Melody sane. Okay, bye. And then she goes over to Mark, who is with Keller and the other Bruin, and she's like, thank you very much, Mr. Keller. And who is this strapping large man? And he's like, oh, this is my friend Blah. I needed a ride, and he said he'd only give me a ride if he could come. And he's like, that was the most fun I've had in ages. And then they eat, and then she's like, and Mark's like, okay, well, I guess I'll be going. She's like, no, don't go. I want you. And he's like, you love Jace. And she's like, I do love Jace, but I need you. I can't live without you. Okay, you're the one that I can't live without. Marry me, Mark. And he's like, for real? And she's like, for real. And he's like, ah. And then he smiles and kisses her, and then the book ends.
Thank God.
Oh, and Manx and Owen are going to be together and hopefully have more babies, I guess.
Yeah.
Book ends.
And that is that.
Shifters is over.
Shifters is over. So next week, I guess we're doing the first Wildcats book. Because are we doing Wildcats before we're doing Red Queen's War?
Do you need a break from the Rachel Vincent's? It's up to you. So the first Wildcats book, there's a novella, and then like there's Hunt, which is it's not really a novella, it's a short story. It's from an anthology.
Yeah.
And then there's the first book, which is Lion's Den, and they're both Abby. So we'll do them together.
I think I could do with a break.
Okay, well, we'll do, what is it, Red Queen's War, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay. I have them, so
Okay.
I'm good.
Yeah, so we'll do that, and then we're doing the first book in the Vampire Diaries series tomorrow,
Yes.
which will be a bit of a rehash for us, but that's okay.
Yeah, I've started listening to it today, and I'm just like, yeah, no, Elena's a fucking psychopath.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's great. So that's what we're doing tomorrow. And then next week,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll do Prince of Fools and then Vampire Diaries again.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what we're doing, and kind of glad this is over. But with
I
that,
am curious for the first Wildcats book to see what happens with, because I haven't read them. So
yeah,
we'll see how they deal with Abby's
and
trauma.
I'm very curious to see how you like Jalen, because while I love the Broken Empire series, the Red Queen's War series is my favorite. It's my favorite books.
Yeah.
Like, these are my favorite books, so I'm interested. Since you liked
Okay,
the
we'll see
Broken
how it goes.
Empire, like, these are better because
Yeah.
like, those were his first books, and yeah, so
They're pretty good for first books, eh?
yeah.
Like,
Also, the narrator's better.
oh, yay. I like
The
that.
narrator is really, really good.
Oh, that's right. That's one thing you were saying. Like the watch me bits are less awkward with this
they're
narrator.
it's actually really entertaining, and
Okay.
yeah, the narrator for this is super good. So anyway, that's what we're doing, and we will see you guys tomorrow night. Bye, guys.